Hello, good evening, everybody. We are going to, it's not evening, it's good day, it's evening. I recorded this video like in the middle of the night. No? Uh, this day, we're going to have a continuation of our discussion last week. We provided you content abstraction that talks about branches of ethics, the definition of ethics, morality, laws, and different key features of morality, correct? This is supposedly be included in the previous content abstraction. However, the topic last week was quite long already, was quite lengthy. So I intentionally cut it because I want to have a pre-recorded video. So you can have something to review. I'm going to upload this one in YouTube. No, this is already in YouTube. No? I intentionally uploaded this one in YouTube so that you will have something in the future to review, especially in the coming exams. So if you fail to take down notes, at least you have something to browse. You're going to rewatch this on my YouTube channel. This channel is actually exclusively and specially created only for our subject, no, so that everybody can access, everybody can have something to review sooner or later. No, that's why I request everyone. I asked everyone to subscribe so that in our next week discussions, you will be notified if I have uploaded already videos. No, these videos also will also be used by other teachers under like Sir Runtuma, Madam Kavan, and Sir Bargayo. No, so all of you will be having this kind of video so throughout the semester. And a little reminder before I proceed with my discussion today, I don't want you to skip. I want you to really listen very carefully because in the middle of our discussion, we will have activity. No, like I want you to have with you your papers, a clean sheet of paper, so that you're going to write your name in that clean sheet of paper. If you can have one paper. Write your name, your section, and your year, and then you copy the question and then you answer. After the whole video, after you watch this video, you need to take a picture of your answered paper and then send that to our GC because that will be graded, no? And the same thing to students under Ma'am Kavan and under Sir Rintuman, so with Sir Bargayo. Uh, Please do that also because we will have the same scoring system, no? So afterwards also, uh please listen very carefully because at the end of this video, I will have another activity and I will have another instruction. So don't skip because this is important, all right? So our topic today is all about standards and dilemmas. This is in continuation of the topic about morality. We already had discussed about the different philosophies or key features of morality last week. This time we're going to have standards and dilemmas. No? Let's have a little introduction. To tell something right in the abstract tells us little. Now, like say for example, by the time you would tell this person you're correct, you're very generous, you are kind, you're very honest, it's quite an abstract comment. No, it will tell you a very little logic about what you have just uttered or you have just commented to this person. To tell what criteria are for making that assessment, we need a context. That means you need to be, what do you call that? You need to back your comment or judgment or your conclusion with a logical reasoning or logical evidence or claim. No, like you need to contextualize your comment or your judgment or your conclusion. When you say contextualize, you have to specify about why did you say such. How can you be able to let this person, or in you just said this person is honest, correct, right, and all. How can you be able to let this person decipher what you wanted to say and what you really wanted to convey? No, so it's quite uh that's the thing. No, now when you talk about also about morality, there are two things you need to remember that morality has two types, like the moral standard and the non-moral standard. Now, we are going to differentiate the two because there has been a lot of misconceptions about these terms. They said some of the people would say moral standards is about morality, non-moral standards is about immorality, which is entirely wrong, because the two terms, like for example moral standards and non-moral standards, these two terms are um, equitably good, no? Pareho lang itong dalawang ito na mabuti siya, good siya. It refers to goodness, no? It refers to being obedient, it refers to being courteous and anything, no, and etc. It's just that they differ to its nature. No, like for example, a moral standard refers to the norms which we have about the types of actions which we believe to be morally acceptable and morally unacceptable. No, like say for example, moral standards deal with matters which can either seriously harm or seriously benefit beings. The validity of moral standards comes from the line of reasoning that was taken to back or either to support your claim, no? And thus are not able to be formed, to be changed by particular bodies of authority. Some ethicists would say that moral standards can be mean as moral values or moral principles. Just like say for example, honesty, kindness, these are your moral values. Like you want to tell all the truth, you don't want to lie. These are moral values. No, these are moral standards. These are also your moral principles. No, and however, how are you going to form that particular moral standard or moral development is because of the influence possibly from the people around you, no, from the influential um people around you. Like say for example, you're developing your moral compass, especially on children, specifically on children. It is entirely the responsibility of the people around them, like for example family, educational institutions, and the community at large, no? Each one of them, family, educational institution, and the community, each one of them has a role to play in instilling personal and collective values and supporting the development of individuals' ability to judge what is right and what is wrong and to know how to act accordingly, because they were the ones who can really highly influence the development of morality of a person. That is why sooner or later you'll become parents. You really need to teach your students the highest moral standards you can, because especially yung mga toddlers pa at tsaka adolescent, ano pang tawag doon, medyo mga bata pa sila, ah, kung ano yung nakikita nila, especially sa paligid nila, para sa kanila yun yung tama. That's why you're very, very influential to them, no? It is important to remember that the moral development of young people depends on ethical capacities of of the adults, no, who interacts with them on a daily basis, especially the family, especially the parents, the siblings, also the teachers who are member of the extended family, because you know the teachers can actually influence the kids for like 8 hours a day. Like most of the time mas taas pa nga yung influence ng teacher in a span of like from elementary until college. Medyo mas taas yung influence ng teacher as compared sa parents, no? Kasi kung titingnan mo at you analyze, you go to school for like 8 hours and you will be encountering your teachers for 8 hours, and by the time you go home, like you take your dinner, and then after you take your dinner you talk a little with your parents and with your siblings, and then you sleep. After that one, in the following day you go to school. Like medyo mas lengthy yung influence ng teacher sa'yo, especially your classmates. So you really need to choose your group and you really need to tighten your circle. You need to choose people whom you can lean on and whom you also can enjoy you can enjoy your company with them. At the same time, who have that moral standards worthy of emulation. No, so yun siya. That is moral standards, no? Like something like it will really impact your morals, your morality as a person, your moral values, and your moral principles. On the other hand, let's talk about the non-moral standards. It refers to rules that are unrelated to moral or ethical considerations. Either these standards are not necessarily linked to morality or by nature lack ethical sense. No, either these standards are not I'm sorry. Basic examples of non-moral standards include rules, rules of the classroom. What else? Etiquettes, like table etiquettes and all, fashion standards, rules in games, and various house rules. By the time you violate this, like say for example, the requirement or the rule when you attend Christmas parties is you have to wear red because it's Christmas. No, it's a rule, and by the time you are not going to follow this rule, it's just you just did not follow the rule. It will not make you immoral person, no? Sa it does not link, it will not link it. It cannot be related to your moral standards as a person. It will not affect your moral principle, no? How it will only affect your etiquette, no? It will only affect how you follow the rules and how you understand the rules. It's non-moral standards, no? Non-moral, again, it will not affect your moral principle or your moral values as a person. So, technically, religious rules, what else? Some traditions and what else? Ano ba? Religious rules, what else? Some traditions and legal statutes such as laws and ordinances are non-moral in principle because there are some laws that not necessarily guarantee morality, no? Another is what else for ano? Um, yeah, these are non-moral. Uh, these are non-moral principles, no? Though they can be ethically relevant depending on some factors and concepts. Depende na 'yon na sa isang batas. Yeah, like for example, stealing. So it will affect your moral standards. However, there are really laws that has nothing to do with your morality, no? Let's proceed with non-moral standards. Under that is, as I uttered earlier, etiquette, no? So to prove further that non-moral standards has nothing to do with your moral standards or your moral values and moral principles. One example is etiquette, no? Refers to the norms of correct conduct in polite society or more generally to any special code of social behavior or courtesy. For example, dapat you really have to wear what do you call that? Parang what do you call that? Sayal or parang dito, you are not going to wear pants during mass. Now these are etiquette, mass etiquette. It has nothing to do with your morality. No, it does not affect your moral values, being an honest person, being a religious person, being a kind person, being a generous person. Hindi yan makakaapekto because these are moral values. However, non-moral standards like etiquette, like religious etiquette na pupunta ka dapat maka diretso yung damit mo, it has nothing to do with your morality, di ba? It will not make you a bad person actually, no? So, yun, that's one. Another is table etiquette. Na supposedly sa isang restaurant, they strictly wanted to implement about table etiquette on using fork and spoon, and then you chose not to use fork and spoon. You are deviating to the table etiquette. However, it will not affect your morality. So that's why it is called non-moral standards. It is a standard, but does not affect your moral standard. No? So these are etiquette. Now, that's one example of non-moral standards. Another is statutes. Statutes are laws enacted by legislative bodies. No, when you say enacted, these are laws promulgated or being made or yeah, being made and being crafted by the legislative, like for example the Congress, the Senate. They're the ones who are making our laws, no? So Congress and state legislators enact uh for example, laws enacted by local government units. If it is if a law is created by the Congress, it is called a law or a public act and all. It's a statutes. However, it is if it is created and crafted by the local government unit, usually the term is ordinances, no? Ordinance ang tawag sa kanila. So, yeah, statutes make up larger part of the law and are what many of us mean when we speak of laws. Limited in their time and knowledge, legislature often set up boards or agencies whose function include issuing detailed regulations covering certain kinds of conduct such as administration regulation. Now, there is really a what they call that is struggle when you talk about the understanding of morality and legality. Now, people sometimes confuse legality and morality, but they are different things. No, these are different things indeed. On one hand, breaking the law is not always or necessarily immoral man. No? On the other hand, the legality, that's why I provided there. The legality of an action does not guarantee that it is morally right. By the time yeah, it is legal to do this, but that does not mean that it is morally right to follow that also. No? So, yun, somewhere in between etiquette and law lie professional code of ethics. For example, professionals like there is no such law that prohibits there is no such law that prohibits teachers uh, making relationship with students. Walang ganun na batas. However, if the school will actually be making a particular rule or policy to prohibit it, then that will also be carried. No, pero when it comes to our statutes, statutory laws, walang ganon. No, walang nagpo-prohibit sa mga teachers and students to have relationship. Pero kung ang school niyo ay nagbabawal ng ganon, so it is still carried. Isa pa rin siyang policy or rule na dapat sundin. So these are moral standards, no? Statutes, non-moral standards, statutes, etiquette, and all. So yun siya. When you talk about how moral standards are formed also, I have discussed earlier about the influence of the people around us is very important. That's why we have to know how to be objective, and we have to know how to weigh things out, and we have to know to really determine which is right and wrong to do, no, to follow and to decide on. Now, that's why this is what I meant earlier that we're going to have an activity. That is number one. So please copy the question, okay? Give at least two examples of moral and non-moral standards. Kahit dalawa lang, tigda dalawa lang siya. So two examples for moral standards and two examples for non-moral standards. Like, one example is one sentence. That's okay. When you explain that one, that to prove your claim that this is a moral standard. And yeah, that's good. So two examples each, no? Please copy the question first. I'll give you 10 seconds. All right. I anticipate you have copied already the question. Can we proceed with our next discussion? To prove further that moral standards is really distinct as compared to non-moral standards, we are going to discuss the characteristics of moral standards. No, number one, moral standards involve serious wrongs or significant benefits. When you talk about serious wrongs, yung naka-apekto at naka-impact talaga sa morality mo, dignidad mo, integridad mo as a person or as a human being, or it affects really when it comes to benefits as a person, as a moral agent, as a moral being, it has a big impact to you. But if the matter does not really impact your morality or moral standards, it is not the so-called moral standards. Like for example, by the time if and only if you are a basketball player and you are able to violate the rule in playing the basketball game, that does not mean that you are a bad person already. No, it will not mean as you are an immoral person. It's just that you were able to deviate or to not follow the rule in playing the basketball game. No, unless otherwise if you are cheating, no. But if the rule is about how to play it safely, it does not mean that you are immoral already. Again, because moral standards involve serious wrongs that will really impact your moral standards, your moral principles, and your moral values as a person. Na? Secondly, moral standards ought to be preferred to other values. Sometimes, there are general moral duty to obey the law, but there may come a time when the injustice of an evil law is unbearable and thus calls for illegal but non-moral cooperation, or but moral non-cooperation. When you talk about this, it's sometimes we can associate this one to what other think what other people think is right and wrong. No, like sometimes we measure and we quantify and we qualify our own moral standards to the preference and to the perspective of other people. No, sometimes yung tag ay hindi yan tama kasi para sa kanila hindi kasi tama. Parang sumusunod ka sa standard ng moral standards ng society or sa group. No, sometimes even if we think we are right, we have to adjust with our perspective that we are right because other people may think that is not right. So sometimes our moral standards ought to be preferred to other people's values, no? Next is moral standards are not established by authority figures. I'll give you two concepts of this. Number one is it cannot be imposed to us. Like for example, what is the measurement of honesty? When it comes to moral values, what is the measurement, no? So the government cannot actually qualify and quantify the measurement or the concept or the standards of being honest. When you talk honesty, 'di ba sabi doon sa principle or key features of morality, moral absolute exists, moral values exist and moral absolute exist, 'di ba? So when you talk about honesty, honest is honesty talaga. By the time nilagyan mo something dirt at nag-twist ka sa truth, you are being dishonest already. So the authority figures, even your government, cannot impose what is the standard of honesty, what is the standard of being kind, being generous, and being courteous. No, that's one. The authority figures cannot establish and cannot impose that to us. Secondly, uh it cannot be changed. No, sabi nga moral absolute exists because when you talk about honesty, honesty is really honesty. No, the truth will always be the truth unless otherwise someone will fabricate the truth. It will not be called as truth anymore. No, that's why it cannot be changed because moral law, moral values and moral principles is known to humans, 'di ba? Sabi sa philosophy of morality, na I think that's number 5 na philosophy, na moral law actually moral law exists. No, moral standards exist and it will not be changed, it will not be imposed to us. No, and moral law is known to humans. No, so alam natin yun, hindi yun mababago. Next is moral standards have the trait of universalizability. No, but I'd like to have a shortcut of that universality. No, simply put it, to simply put that, it means that everyone should live up to moral standards. To be more accurate, however, it entails that moral principles must apply to all who are in the relevantly similar situation. When you talk about universality also, we have moral standards that are universal also. Like for example, the principle or the doctrine, is that a doctrine or the principle of do unto others as you would have them do unto you? No, like that's Confucianism. In Buddhism, you have the so-called karma. So you will reap what you sow. Kung ano yung itaninim mo, yun din ang aanihin mo. It's like a universal moral standard, no? Like we all follow this and we all believe this. Next one is moral standards are based on impartial considerations. Diba? Never forget about one of the principles of or the key features of morality, that morality is objective. That means in everything that you do, it should be impartial. In everything that you decide, it should be impartial. Everything you choose, everything that you act, it should be impartial. It should be based on your not just in your own interest, but also on the interest of other people. You also need to consider other people, because impartiality is usually depicted as being free of biases or prejudice. Impartiality in morality requires that we give equal and or adequate consideration to the interest of all concerned parties. So you do not just consider yourself. Please consider the perspectives and the feelings of other people. Consider the ideas and the point of views of other people. So moral standards are based on impartial consideration. Lastly, moral standards are associated with special emotions and vocabulary. And that's why we have the so-called prescriptive morality, because most of the time, these moral standards are taught to us, or possibly we've learned this one from someone else, or from anywhere. Like for example, we talk about vocabulary and on moral standards. The common tagline about "do not kill," we could easily perceive and understand that killing is not good. So that's why it is called, it is always imposed to us not to kill. So do not kill. No, that's ano. Another is do no harm. That's another vocabulary on moral standards. Do no harm. That's common to us, that we should not be harmful to other people, or we should not hurt other people, no? Sana walang masaktan, palagi tayong masasaktan. Kaya nga wag kang magpakatanga para hindi masaktan. Just kidding. So yun, yeah, do no harm to other people. Last vocabulary is and special emotion of moral standards is love thy neighbor. No, I understand that it is really hard to love your neighbor and to be friend with your neighbor, especially your neighbor is your enemy, because you don't like this person of having and creating gossips against you and all. No, but anyhow, we know that we need to be friend and we need to love our neighbor. So these are the characteristics of moral standards. No, so it makes uh it can give you a more distinct feature and perspective on the concept of moral and non-moral standards. No? So I hope you understood that discussion. We are going to proceed with a very what do you call that? Very interesting topic, the moral dilemmas, because we have standards and dilemmas. No, the standards of morality, which are the moral standards and the non-moral, and here comes dilemmas. We have the moral dilemmas. Now, what is meant by moral dilemma? Actually, this is common to all of us. If I'm not mistaken, all of us have actually experienced moral dilemmas already. No, moral dilemma is a conflict in which you have to choose between two or more actions and have moral reasons for choosing each action. So there are actually a moral dilemma is a situation where number one, you are presented with two or more options, all of which you have the ability to perform. Meaning, you really have the ability, you have the capacity to choose which one is best for you. You know, when you go to, sige, let's go to bad and good na lang muna. Though I think good is not really related to moral dilemma. However, let's go there to have analogy. No, when you are given two options, for example, ano ba, promotion or bonus, parang gano'n, no? You will be promoted, pero yung konti lang yung salary na madadagdag sa iyo, or you will receive a very, very big bonus, like a million na bonus, but hindi ka mapopromote. So, dalawang options meron ka. These are good options, no? But you are going to choose which among all these good option is best for you. No, so it's one analogy. However, moral dilemma is, when you talk about dilemma, it's a struggle. No, it's really it's a struggle, it's a suffering, it's quite hardship, difficulty. No, difficulty in choosing which is more moral and which is more good for you. When you go to the bad side of it, the moral dilemma is about you are given two or more options about bad things, but you don't have choice but to really choose which is less bad or which is less evil. However, the two options are evil. So all you have to do is to really choose one. Don't worry, I'm going to provide an example earlier, no? So yun siya. So there are more moral reasons for you to choose each actions. So even if the action that you will choose is bad in the eyes of other people, and even in your own moral principle, you don't have choice than to follow it. No, you don't have choice to follow it, or you don't have choice than to choose it. It's just that you have to choose which is less evil, however, it's still evil. No? Anyhow, you know the consequence of your action naman. I'll cite you some examples about it, especially in organization. No, it is sooner or later you will become professionals, and you will be working possibly in a government institution or a private company. Uh, these are very common moral dilemma in the organization. Number one, senior leaders fail to walk the talk. They are guilty of modeling inappropriate behavior. Sila yung gumagawa ng policy at rule na iyan, sila yung gustong mag-implement ng ganitong policy. However, sila din yung nagde-deviate at hindi nagpa-follow sa rule na iyon. Senior leaders fail to walk the talk, no? Like you wanted to 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 let all your subordinates to follow your principle or your policy. However, ikaw lang naman yung hindi sumusunod sa iyong principle or sa iyong policy. So you are not modeling yourself. You are modeling the inappropriate behavior, no? Most of the time ganyan yung moral dilemma sa organization. May policy tayo, hindi naman tayo sumusunod, especially yung leaders natin. Number two, leaders often have an irrational sense of entitlement, feeling I should be allowed to do this or I deserve this. When you talk about I should be allowed to do this, the policy is you have to be in the office like 8 hours, like you only have your lunch break. However, ikaw lang naman yung lumalabas. Ikaw lang naman yung nagde-debate sa policy na iyan, and sasabihin mo naman na, "I deserve this because I am the leader of this institution. I am the boss of this company. I am the middle manager of this company. So I deserve this. I deserve a break." You are not modeling yourself in a good way. You are modeling inappropriate behavior. Most of the time it happens, no, because they think, especially our boss or our heads, department heads, our what else, our mga team leaders and all, the president of the company, the manager of the company, directors, deans and all, no, they feel that they deserve and they're the only ones who can deviate the rule because they are the leader, which is not good. And I hope you will not be doing that soon in your professional life. Number three is individuals may begin cutting corners due to misplaced incentives. No, it happens also na sa company ninyo, marami kayo, alam nyo na yung kasama nyo ay medyo tamad naman, na wala namang masyadong ginagawa, siya pa yung na-promote. No, sometimes it will demotivate your colleagues. Especially, it will demotivate you seeing your colleague who is not that productive and who is not that kugihan, no, na medyo tamad naman siya pa yung na-promote. No, parang may ganun kasi talaga, no, at hindi mo yun maiiwasan, pero hindi naman lahat, no, hindi naman lahat, pero meron talaga, nangyayari yan. Number four is individuals may also feel the need to be obedient to authority even if they are asked to do something they feel wrong. Yun yung moral dilemma dyan. Kasi, for example, secretary ka ng boss mo, secretary ka ng president ng kumpanya, and then may something ginawang masama yung boss mo, tapos sasabihin sa iyo, dapat ito yung sasabihin mo. You need to lie. Even if you don't want to lie, you have to lie. Because you have to be obedient to your boss. Even if it is in conflict with your principle as a person, you have to obey your boss. That means, kung may krimen na ginawa yung boss mo, parang madadamay ka na din, may krimen ka na rin ginagawa because you have to follow your boss. No? Fifth one is individuals also have the need for closure which can lead to conflict avoidance. I'm sorry. This is common actually, na pag may nakita kang kasamahan mo sa trabaho na may ginawang masama, some of us tend to keep silent because we don't want conflicts. Some of us tend to just shut up and keep the secret even if you have seen your colleague to have been doing some unfavorable things at work. You tend to be silent because you don't want a conflict with your colleague. At sasabihin pa sa'yo, sip-sip ka kung magsusumbong ka. 'Di ba? So, it happens. Palagi yang nangyayari anywhere you go. Number 6 is defensive logic is prevalent. Ano yung ibig sabihin niyan? Defensive logic is prevalent. Kung nakikita mo yung mga kasamahan mo na palaging tumatakas sa trabaho, medyo marami sa kanila, and yung thinking mo ay, yung mindset mo ay ano, if they can do it, why would I not be doing the same? No? So everyone is doing it, so why not me? Parang gano'n. Kaya nga parang, like for example, sa kultura natin na, 'di ba, parte na ata 'yan ng kultura natin na yung program ay mag-start ng 8, dadating ka ng 9 or 10. That's Filipino time yung tawag natin diyan, no? Kasi everybody is doing it, why not me? No, it's a defensive logic. It is again a moral dilemma. No, like what happened to our society now, no? So it's the same thing. These are the moral dilemmas usually happens in any organization. Not all, but many and several organizations. Meron yan lahat. So you have to prepare yourself by the time you land a job, okay? All right, let's proceed with our activity 2. And do not skip because I will have further instruction after this. You have to copy this. This is in relation to moral dilemma. So question, your partner is dying from a rare disease. Luckily, a cure has recently been invented by a druggist who lives close to you. The druggist is selling the cure for 10 times the amount it cost him to make it. You try to raise the money, but even borrowing from friends or loan from a bank, still you can't afford. You go to the druggist and offer him for installment basis. But he refuses even if you beg so badly that your partner is already dying. What should you do? Steal the drug by killing the druggist or just let your partner die? Yeah, you have a partner, either boyfriend or girlfriend, and then may sakit siyang na rare disease, like this is like COVID, like ano ba yung sakit na iyan, no? Kahit ano pa, basta it's a very rare disease na walang gamot. Luckily, a cure has currently been invented. May nakagawa ng gamot para sa sakit na iyon. Ang nakagawa ng gamot ay yung kapitbahay mo. Okay? He's a druggist, no? So, gumagawa ng gamot. The druggist is selling the cure. Ang sobrang mahal. Like for example, ang isang tablet ay 100,000 yung yung capital niya. Binenta niya to 10 times, like parang naging 1 million na siya per tablet, for example. So, wala kang pera. So either even if manghiram ka sa friends mo or maglo-loan ka sa bank, hindi ka pa rin makaka-afford, no? So, pumunta ka sa druggist at humingi ka ng ano sa kanya ng tawad, no? Like, tumawad ka ng, pwede ba installment basis na lang, and you really ask him because your partner is already dying. Still, this druggist refused. And you only left two options. For example lang naman ito, ha? You steal the drug or yung gamot, anong tawag doon? You are going to steal the drug or yung gamot sa pharmacy or sa laboratory niya, but you need to kill the druggist because the druggist is living there, no? That means you really have to kill the druggist. Or kasi that is against your moral values, your moral standards, your moral principle, you will just let your partner die kasi hindi ka makaka-afford. So which is which? I want you to answer this for 3 to 5 sentences only. Just make it short. Make sure ha nung pag-picture mo nung answer mo ay makikita ko yung clear naman, baka hindi ko yan ma-check kasi hindi ko makita, no? Hindi ko yan tatanggapin, zero agad yan. So yun siya. So you're only given two options: steal the drug by killing the druggist or just let your partner die. So that is our discussion for today. The last instruction I wanted to give you is I want you to comment so that I could have a proof that you have really watched this video. I want you to comment on the comment section of this video, your name, your year, and your section. Okay, again, your name, your year, and your section so that your teachers can check if you have watched this video already. All right. So I hope you have copied the question already. Uh, Good day, and next week for our chapter 2 discussion, we have freedom and morality. Morality. I will also be recording a video because we are given two choices next week. Either we are going to have online class or we're going to have pre-recorded video. So I'm going to record a video because I'm not doing this for me kasi nakakapagod gumawa ng video. I'm doing this for you, everybody, para may mare-review kayo sooner or later, no? Mare-replay nyo lang yung video sa YouTube channel. So again, please subscribe so that you'll be notified of all the discussions we'll have in this subject. So I hope everyone is doing good, and keep safe and healthy, everyone, no? I wish you all luck in answering